Hey, how's it going? Today I'm going to adapt my Mazda KL engine to a Toyota transmission. These KL engines have a huge hard time with the stock tranny. They break third gear pretty much religiously after 300 horsepower. So that's no good for a guy like me that sends it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adapt to a Toyota transmission. I have two of them here and one of them's for this, and I need to weld the diff, I need to adapt the starter, and then I need to install it onto the engine. So I basically have to rip the tranny apart, weld the diff, and then get it all assembled back onto it with the starter, do all that welding. So I'm gonna do that today, and it's quite a big job, so I'm gonna get right to it. Here is my adapter plate that is around on the engine here. What needs to happen is I need to adapt my starter. Bell housing on my transmission needs to go over top of that. So right here is where the stock transmission starter went. So that is where I need to cut out and then weld this inside of it. So, and then the starter from the KL engine will work on this Toyota transmission. All right, look at that. The adapter plate is on the front of the tranny, and from the back here, as you can see, I'm gonna have to fill some holes. That's no problem. I did that on my first tranny I've done. It's fitting, and that is exactly what is needed to get the starter to go. A little bit of grinding here and there. So that's as much as I cut out. Nothing crazy structural, but it'll make it stronger once I weld that whole entire aluminum piece back in. That's why I make these in aluminum, so it actually will be able to weld back on, and then it'll be part of this face of the tranny, so it'll be all good to go. I'm gonna do this one too. I've got to cut that, do the exact same, but I'm not even gonna bother filming it because you just saw it. This wasn't there, and now it is definitely not. All right, so now it's time for me to fill all these holes so it's strong again, and then I'll do the other transmission as well. I got her all welded, so the starter works and fits properly now, and I know it's in the right position because I had it bolted to my adapter plate first, and then I welded it to the case, and everything's bolted in. So I'll have to remove these two bolts and these, then it's completely off, and this is 100% part of this transmission now for good. And I'm going to quickly do this transmission as well. This one is going to be for the front engine. All right, got this guy all welded up, it's done. All right, so here is a E153. Here's my E150. I'm going to have to change over the shifter to the 350 one because this is in the way of the starter. So my starter, it's gonna go here, right where this is intruding like crazy. So it has to go over here, so I need to do that. Another thing is I need to take this whole thing apart and weld the diff. So I'm gonna have to do that as well. I'm gonna start ripping it apart. I think I need to buy some new tools to get it actually apart. So I'm hoping I don't, but we'll see. I'm just gonna do it. All right, I got the shifter out. This is off of a rear engine car, so it pokes out this way. I need one for a front wheel drive one because I need to match my front wheel drive transmission so they can shift the same. So I'm going to remove it from one of these trannies, probably this one because it's right here. And I'm just gonna do the same thing, take these bolts out and then take these, boom, take her out. One thing I noticed is this hole is much smaller than that one. And then on this tranny over here, this one is the same as that. So that is probably gonna be a problem. This is the shifter I just removed from the small tranny there. I'm gonna see if I can get it in at least. Yep. She is in, so I'm going to put the locator pin into this one And then I'm gonna see if I can figure out something to make this one work, or I'm not gonna know what to do here. Okay, so what my plan is I'm going to use these two shifters to make one. So this I need on this side. The original shifter is on this side, on this one, but my starter is going to be in the way. So I'm going to have to weld this guy onto it. So I think that is what my game plan is. Weld that guy on here so I can shift it as it needs with this cap on it. And I think I should be okay after that. So I just gotta get this off and this, try it and see if that's gonna work. And then if that's good, I'll rip it apart and weld this differential. Got it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off so I can actually access this shaft. And then I'm going to have to do some jimmying of some sort to get this shifter attached to that shaft. I don't know if I should, so this can get bolted on, but I'll see. All right, so I got my little setup that I've figured out, and this is the original shaft. Like I said, this is the original shifting point, but I want it over here. So as you can see, I got that completely exposed. So I'm going to make something like so and weld it onto the end. Then I can bolt on this guy. So I think I'm gonna steal this shaft from the old setup. This was over here and I cut that. So I'm going to do the same, try and bang this out. It's rotten. So I'm gonna heat it up, bang it out, and I'll be right back. Wasn't too bad. And now I'm going to weld that to it. And I'm going to make sure that this is pointed straight up for the centering bolt to slide on. And then I should be good to weld it on. And I actually have confidence this is gonna work. Cool, she's all tacked up. I'm just gonna actually make sure this idea is going to work. Hope this fits on. All right, here we go. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, reverse. So that is obviously gonna work and I am freaking happy with that. So I gotta finish weld that. It's gonna definitely be strong enough because I don't even have anything more than a couple tacks. That should do the trick. That should do the trick, boys. That was easy and quick, just like your mom. So then I just simply have to cut this end off. I'll just mark it, pull it out, and then cut it, and then I'm completely done here. So I'm just gonna move on. For real though, look how good this shifts. I'm really happy with that. So at this point, I don't think there's anything that can stop me from doing this swap. I can't wait. I'm gonna take it out and cut that end. So I'm gonna cut all that black off and then we should be pretty well good here. Got it all cut and I'm gonna see how that works. And it almost doesn't even look like I was there. So that is awesome. Shaft's cut. When it's all the way in, it doesn't actually come all the way through. So I'm gonna have to cover that up somehow, some way, but that is not a issue. This is gonna work. I will have to thread in 2 bolt holes here for this shifter part, but that also isn't a huge deal. I am gonna have to buy a tap kit or something. Okay, it's time for me to remove everything from this so I can get to the differential so I can weld it. It's a shame it's an LSD, but I need it welded and I'm peeing fluid everywhere already. But anyways, I'm gonna take it apart one piece at a time. And I think I am gonna have a lot of trouble doing this because it's my first time. So let's see. All right, guys, I got the case off. Things are getting done. That was very difficult. I needed 3 specialty tools, so I will show you what specialty tools I actually needed. I needed an impact driver that's manual. I needed this removal gear clamp. And then I used a harmonic balancer wheel puller. There was quite the amount of balls and springs in here, so I had to take a whole bunch of screws out and then take the ball and spring out. There was quite a bit of them. There was 1, 2, 3 of them, and then this one holds in reverse. So the reverse has to be lined up for that to go back in once I'm done. So the next adventure is going to be trying to pull the gears up enough so I can get the diff out. So that's the next step. All right, I got the diff out. This wasn't terrible getting it all apart. I think I know how to get it back together, so that is good. So now I'm looking at the diff and I was planning on welding it, and there's literally no spots for me to get in here to weld. So what I gotta do is take it apart, take these bolts out, and then hopefully there's some way, somehow I can weld it and then put it back together. Or another option might be cutting a hole in here so I can weld completely shut. I'm gonna have to open this real quick and see what happens. All right, guys, so I have a very difficult job ahead of me. Normally you can just weld the diff by going in the side and sending it, filling all this hole and welding all the planetary gears, but I have this plate that goes over top. So normally people have a window here and they can just bog a whole bunch of MIG in there and they're good to go. Not the case for me. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to have this diff apart like so, weld in here, the gear to the side, 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 the furthest big one, and then I'll weld the gear to this gear and go on from there, but preheat the heck out of it and like kind of be careful that things don't get distorted, and basically weld everything, weld the gear to this shaft, the gear to this shaft, and just kind of slowly fill in there. And then I'm not going to be able to actually weld this physical part of it because this goes over top. And this guy's kind of got to have a little bit, and the axle has to go in here. So I don't really know where it wants to sit for the axle to go in dead straight. So if I just welded this like in here, whatnot, like I don't know if it's actually going to have the axle slide in nicely. I'm not 100% sure here. All right, I actually got a little bit better plan. I thought about it for a bit, and this is what I'm gonna do. So I'm going to bolt this diff together, fully tight as it'll go, as if I was installing it. And then I am going to weld this shaft. I'm gonna weld that shaft to this part of the case. And then I'm going to take this back off. Obviously, I'm gonna do all 4 before I take it off. And then this shaft and the center and these gears are all in the exact spot that I want them to be in. So I know this isn't going to come out. And this can come out, as you can see. So it'll be all positioned as if it was together. And then I can start welding and filling all this in. And then I'll finish off, which is putting this guy on top and bolting her together. And that should be strong enough. I don't have any doubts really. I can even put metal in here. And I will TIG weld it. That's just what I do. I'm gonna send it and weld it. I can weld that to there, that to there, that to there, that to there, and she's not gonna go anywhere. This is gonna be the only gear that isn't welded, and it can't spin because these gears are gonna be all welded solid to here in the case, and then they're also gonna be welded there to there. I think it should work. Okay, so what I'm planning on doing is sealing this up just like so. bolting it together and then welding the bottom of these guys in. So when I remove this, I can take this apart and I know this is exactly where it needs to be. She's all welded up. So look at that. So she's welded. I welded the bottom. I did it in stages, the bottom gear, then the side planetary gears, and then this top gear. I wasn't going to weld this one because I was going to drop this on top and just rely on the other welds, but I kind of figured a way to do it and fuse it on the outside so I don't actually interfere with that bolting on. And then I also welded it from the inside, so I might have to grind the end of a CV shaft just so it'll actually like go in all the way, because this has a little bit of TIG in there, so I might have to do that like I just said, but that's not a big deal. I don't think this is breaking. As long as I can get this on in the exact same position it was, I think I should be really good to go. That was a real pain in the butt because I usually have wide open diff that like you can easily access everything and spin the gear over and whatever. Like this is a pain in the butt. Like I'm literally disassembling it to weld it. If this grew or shrank anything, the tolerance for the bearings will not be correct once it goes inside, but I think it'll work. I usually end up squeaking things by just enough. The diff is fully seated and I am very confident this is actually going to work. I'm going to put all my bolts in and be just done with it, you know what I'm saying? I am 100% confident that this diff is going to work. That was actually one of the hardest diffs I've ever welded because I actually had to take it apart and kind of jimmy bob it together. But I am 100% confident that this is gonna work absolutely fine. So now I'm going to do the starter adapter into the Toyota tranny here. I'm gonna just go through that quick. I've done that in other videos, so I actually did that already in this video. So I'm just gonna do that without filming it. It's cold, it's dark already. I'm just gonna go outside, grind it, and then weld it all in, and I should be good. And I might as well, while this is apart, it'll be a lot lighter, and then I'll clean all this stuff and get right back to it and put this thing together. All right, so I got a lot done. I started at 7 in the morning and now it's midnight. Everything is cleaned, as you can see, all cleaned, ready to assemble. I cut and welded in my starter bracket, that's all done. The diff is welded and all back together, and I actually got the speed gear on, and it's gonna be exactly like it was, other than it'll be welded. Solid diff, great for drifting. Honestly, this tranny would have not been pulled apart if I didn't want it welded. And what it boils down to is I did all this effort so I could drift it, because I've always had a welded diff, and drifting, you basically need a welded diff. No matter which way you look at it, you need a welded diff or your car's gonna drive like crap. So that's why I did it. Everything's really clean, use my parts washer, and everything is good to go in. And let's hope I can remember how to put this together. I'll see you in the morning. Okay, first step, the shifter forks go on. Second shaft. Shaft number 3 goes on. Then shaft 2, and then shaft 1. It has to go in that order or it will not go together. I had to figure that out because there's not one video on YouTube on how to do this. I saw somebody tear one down, but did not see somebody put it together. It's time for me to put the top on. I had never done so this is probably gonna be difficult. Thank God I know how this stuff goes. I took pictures and I looked at my pictures and basically replicated what I had. So things are looking awesome. I'm just gonna get right to it. Put this case on and hopefully all the springs and balls and everything goes in the right spot and it'll work. Look how clean she is though. Look at that, the tranny is together. There's a couple more things to do, but it's together. The starter is on, that needed modified on. The shifter needed modified. I needed to literally make a shaft to get this to shift correctly on this side, because it was on this side where the starter was, and it shifts great. Everything's working, I'm really happy, and the diff is welded. So I've gotten a lot done so far. What I need to do is I need to get on the bracket that the cables are gonna go on to. I need to make my throwout bearing 1/2 inch thicker for my adapter plate that'll go in here. So I literally will weld a 1/2 inch spacer onto this throwout bearing, and I sell those with my kits, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. I just TIG weld them on and then get that stuff on. Look how nice it spins. And one more thing, there's one more part of the shifter I have to modify. Since this shifter was not on this right side before, there isn't actually an idler arm. So this arm sits here. This is the second cable. So right now I only have one spot for a cable. I need two, so it can do in and out. This is what this one's for, and this one's for left and right. So I need to modify this on. So what I'm going to do is drill a couple holes in the transmission, and then I can actually have my second shifter. So that'll be good because it needs to go left and right. So that's when you're doing that on the shifter, it's controlling two cables. So here's my throwout bearing. So what I need to do is I need to add a 1/2 inch spacer to the actual pressure plate. So when I have my adapter plate on, this makes up for the thickness of the adapter plate. So the actual clutch fork doesn't have to overextend. I've done this on my other build and it did work no problem. On Red Ted, this is what I did and it worked no problem. So I'm gonna do the exact same. It's chamfered, it's smooth, and it does work, believe it or not. So I'm just gonna do a bunch of tacks on the outside, and then I can throw it on here, and then I'm pretty much done for my entire trannies, and it can go onto the engine after I put the clutch in. Bearing still works mint. That is awesome. She's hot, but she's definitely cool, if you know what I'm saying. So I am absolutely done. All I have to do is put this onto the input shaft on the tranny. I don't have grease right now, so I'm not going to. I'm gonna put it right onto there with my clutch fork, and I'm literally done. This transmission is absolutely ready to go onto the engine. So I'm gonna leave that for the next video, but I honestly actually had to smooth 2 days. So it was 2 days to film this and do it 2 full days. And I'm saying it was very, very smooth. There was only one time I had to take it in, or I actually didn't film it, but I had to take the tranny apart because I forgot a clip. So everything had to come back out, but I wasn't really tripping about it because I learned more. So then I won't remember. I will remember that there's clips that need to be put back on. I remember that there's 3 that are on the top, and if I don't have 3 left, if I have more than 3 left, I don't have something together before I put this case on, because there's 3 pieces, right? After I put this one on, I was finishing up this on the 5th gear stuff on the last part of the video, and there was actually parts left, so I had to rip her apart and see what was going on, but she does work good. I went to get tranny fluid today, and there was absolutely none at the store, which is weird. I wanted to put some tranny fluid in and spin it and then see how nice it feels with fluid in it, because I could just spin it by hand and get some fluid running. But that is honestly it, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for being along on this journey. I'm literally full-time at this right now, so I really want to enjoy the cars with other people. Like, this is what I do, this is what I love, and this is what I want to do for my living. So let's send it. Like, comment, subscribe, and that can really help me get my dreams. All right, we'll see you later.